At bottom. Repeat. At bottom. Well done. Beginning exploration of the bottom.
The Mariana Trench, a world within a world, a whole new realm unventured. The mysteries it holds seem endless, with unexpected discoveries at every corner. And it seems scientists have recently come across an unexpected discovery that has left them completely puzzled.
American explorer Victor Vescovo descended nearly 11 kilometers into the Mariana Trench, and this, at its lowest point, is nearly 11 kilometers deep.
Will they ever be able to find the answers in the vastness of the Mariana Trench? Let's find out. Join us as we dive deep into the secrets it holds. The vast Mariana Trench. Imagine diving deeper and deeper into the ocean till no ray of sun falls. An abyss of darkness where a multitude of mysteries abide, and where the weight of the water feels like a skyscraper on your shoulders. Well, welcome to the Mariana Trench, where you'll find endless mysteries residing in a dark abyss. But before unveiling some of its mysteries, let's unveil the rich historical tapestry of the trench, how it came to be, and what its existence means for our understanding of our planet. The Mariana Trench didn't just randomly come to be. It's not just some dent in the crust of the Earth, but rather a result of a cataclysmic event. A massive collision between two major geological plates. You see, the Earth's crust isn't made of one solid piece, but instead, you could think of it as a puzzle, and instead of puzzle pieces, there are huge slabs, which you might know as tectonic plates. These plates constantly move, albeit at a speed that matches a snail's, but still they move. While moving, these slabs creep past each other, sliding under or crashing into each other over time. Now, according to research, around 180 million years ago, two tectonic plates, the Pacific Plate and the Philippine Sea Plate, were en route to collide. Here's where things become interesting. Instead of a dramatic head-on collision, one of the plates, the Pacific Plate, began to sink under the Philippine Plate. The result? Well, the Pacific Plate flipped. Well, more like faced downwards, and merged with the Earth's mantle, which created a dent that deepened over millions of years. That dent? The Mariana Trench. And that's not all. The trench has an impressive depth of 11 kilometers, which is roughly around 7 miles, and its width is surprisingly 5 times its depth. To put things into perspective, it's way deeper than you think. Its depth is far greater than the height of the tallest mountain, Mount Everest. That's not all. Its environment is one that humans haven't even come across. Extremely high pressures and freezing temperatures. Its existence is a marvel for mankind. So, where is this fascination located? It's hiding out in the western Pacific Ocean, just east of the Mariana Islands, right in the middle of the Philippines and Japan. Imagine a huge crescent-shaped canyon stretching over 1,500 miles. And if you didn't guess it already, it got its name from its nearby Mariana Islands, which were actually named after the Queen Mariana of Austria, to keep her memory alive. The story goes somewhat along the lines of Spanish explorers stumbling across these islands and declaring them the Mariana Islands. Fast forward a few hundred years, when scientists got a whiff of this trench and began mapping it, the Mariana Trench was born. In current times, the name alone of this trench carries a certain mystique and eeriness, making listeners imagine the unknown creatures and secrets that lie in the deep ends of the trench. Now that we have a bit of understanding about the formation of the trench, let's dive deeper into its unique geological features. You might picture the trench to be a simple straight chasm in the sea floor, but the truth is that it's actually a complex shape. Due to the Pacific Plate facing downward and creating a sort of dent, The canyon is in the shape of a V, with steep walls descending down into the dark, endless abyss. The seafloor surrounding the trench is scattered with towering underwater mountains, which are known as seamounts, many of which rise thousands of meters above the ocean floor. But the most defining feature of the trench is its depth. As we mentioned before, its depth on average reaches 36,000 feet, making it the deepest part of the world's oceans, which also happens to be the deepest part of the Earth. The deepest point of the trench, known as the Challenger Deep, is so far below the ocean surface that even some of the most high-tech and advanced submarines find difficulty in reaching it. In fact, there have only been a handful of descents into the Challenger Deep, which we'll talk about in just a few. But one thing is for sure, each journey pushed the limits of endurance and engineering. Moreover, previously, we mentioned how the trench came to be due to an interaction between two tectonic plates. Well, if you dive deeper into the mechanisms of the why, then you'll know how the trench is part of a much larger geological feature known as a subduction zone. Yes, these zones are where tectonic plates interact and often generate powerful earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. In the case of the Mariana Trench, the placement of the Pacific Plate underneath the Philippine Plate creates massive pressure. This, as a result, can trigger some devastating earthquakes and tsunamis, so much so that the region around the trench is known to be part of the Pacific Ring of Fire, which is a seismically active area popular for its frequent volcanic eruptions and earthquakes. It has become quite clear, the deeper we go, the more there is to uncover. The trench's intrigue has hooked scientists and explorers since the beginning of its findings. Multiple efforts have been made to figure out the hidden secrets of this realm on Earth. Descents into the abyss of the Mariana Trench. Over 60 years ago, in 1960, when space fever had captured the attention of all, there was one man who wanted to venture someplace else, someplace unimagined by mankind. Captain Don Walsh, a 28-year-old submarine lieutenant, dreamt of diving deeper than any man before, venturing deeper than any human. While mankind wanted to explore the stars, he wanted to explore the secret world within. His mission? To descend into the depths of the Mariana Trench. The beginning of his journey was filled with cautious optimism and surprise, when after volunteering he found out exactly how far below he had to go. But regardless of the danger that lingered, he was ready. On January 23, 1960, Walsh, along with Jacques Piccard, a Swiss oceanographer, entered into a steel-walled chamber that was almost the size of a fridge, with just enough room to squeeze into and a temperature that could actually rival your freezer at home. The two brave adventurers began their descent, and as they dropped further into the darkness, they could hear the groans of their steel abode. The pressure was increasing to unimaginable levels as their descent deepened. Then, at around almost 30,000 feet, the two heard an alarming bang, their worst fear. All alone, in the darkest part of the ocean, and with no way out but down. The two had to investigate, and thankfully they saw the bang was a result of a window crack that wasn't harmful, but the tensions were spiking. Any mistake could be fatal. Finally, after 5 excruciating and antagonizing hours, they hit the 11-kilometer mark. The submarine's light hit the seafloor, indicating to the men that they had made it. The deepest part of the Earth was now within their reach. They spent 20 minutes at the bottom, and they had made history. Imagine the surreality of the moment, in the eerie quiet, having achieved a triumph unimagined. Upon their return, they were hailed as heroes. This journey sparked a fire in Walsh, and his one-time adventure became a lifetime calling. In the decades that followed, Walsh continued to explore the ocean while working for its protection. His work paved the way for future deep-sea dives, including the expeditions done by Victor Vescovo, who in 2019 made a record-breaking descent, going 8 meters further than the man himself. What made the record-breaking moment even more special was that Walsh's son, Kelly, was on that dive in 2019 with Vescovo, making a family legacy like no other. Walsh's dream and bravery helped the world understand what was beneath us and the secrets that lay within. It paved the way for more adventures and explorations. Since the first expedition, numerous others have taken place, and with each new mysteries are uncovered. Each expedition usually has its own purpose and technology. The deep end has seen uncrewed missions to explorers, to even filmmakers. After the first descent, the next notable descent came over 3 decades later in 1996, when the uncrewed, remote-controlled vehicle Kaiko ventured into the Challenger deep. The mission was to gain vital data that would help understand the deep end further. This mission was then followed by another remotely operated vehicle, Nereus, in 2009. These expeditions mainly measured the depths and compared the data with the one obtained during Walsh and Picard's journey. The status of Challenger Deep, being the deepest point, was further confirmed by these missions, leaving no doubt behind. Then, in 2012, headlines were made when the Canadian filmmaker and ocean enthusiast James Cameron became the first person to solo dive to the deep end of the Mariana Trench. This was a huge triumph and achievement. Not only did his submersible, the Deep Sea Challenger, reach a depth of 10,908 meters, but he was also able to capture footage of his journey along with collecting samples. This provided immensely valuable data to scientists, allowing for better understanding. James Cameron's adventure showcased the fusion of technology, adventure, and scientific discovery, and it further paved the way for more explorations. As mentioned earlier, 7 years later, in 2019, Victor Vescovo took deep-sea exploration to a whole new level with his submersible, the DSV Limiting Factor, which had the capability to dive repeatedly to challenge deep. A fascinating achievement was when, in just 2 months, Vescovo successfully completed 4 descents. His explorations brought back biological and geological samples that further expanded our knowledge of the extreme environments faced in the trench. Vescovo proved that the Challenger Deep wasn't only one point, but rather a complex landscape that had 3 distinctive pools or areas. His interest and achievement greatly sped up the exploration process. In addition to this, the following year saw 2 major historic milestones. The first underwater vessel to operate autonomously at such extreme depth, the Vityaz D, was built and set forth by Russian engineers. It was a major milestone as it displayed how technological advancements are making exploration more accessible and easy. With technology on our side, the secrets of the Mariana Trench may not stay hidden for so long. Moreover, the same year another feat was accomplished. 2 remarkable women, astronaut Catherine D. Sullivan and mountaineer Vanessa O'Brien, made their own descent, becoming the first women to do so. In current times, it seems deep-sea exploration is no longer an impossible feat, but rather a regular adventure. Life in the abyss. Meet the strange creatures of the Mariana Trench. As we said earlier, every expedition brought back different results, unearthing a wealth of discoveries that challenged our understanding of survival and adaptation in the harshest of conditions. This extreme and enigmatic environment has proved itself to be the home to a plethora of life forms, deepening the mystique around its existence. The Hadal Ecosystem Studies expedition, of which Nereus was a part, aimed to explore the trench in new ways, not only in the context of exploring its depth, but rather also exploring its inhabitants. The project employed 5 deep-sea vehicle systems, called landers, which were meant to study different depths from the range of 5,000 meters to 10,600 meters. The minds behind the project, Dr. Jeff Drazen and Patty Fryer, believed that a greater comprehensive strategy would allow them to better understand the existence of life and the geological process across the entire Hadal Zone. It was really no shock when the Hades expedition was groundbreaking, not just in its methodology, but also in the number of new discoveries it brought back. One of the most remarkable findings was a completely unknown species of snailfish, which was recorded at an impressive depth of 8,143 meters. It was surprising how this translucent fish, with wing-like fins and eel-like tail, survived under such pressure in the deepest depths of the Earth. It was recorded moving along the seabed, peacefully living its life, while its existence brought so much glee to the onlookers. Alongside the snailfish, other new species were also discovered, which gave researchers greater information on how these animals were adapting in such extreme conditions. Other discoveries included small crustaceans resembling fleas, known as amphipods, that seemed to be quite abundant in the Hadal Zone. How did they survive in such an abyss? By feeding on bits of organic material that would fall from upper ocean levels down to the deep sea. Additionally, the Alachella gigantea, a type of amphipod, can grow up to 13 inches long. This can be linked to the phenomenon of abyssal gigantism, which basically states how animals grow larger in the deep sea due to slower metabolism and other environmental factors. Even more surprising was the discovery of the giant squid, which was captured on camera in 2019. The giant squid was an impressive size of 12 feet and was filmed for the very first time, providing a glimpse into the creatures that lurked in the dark. This creature left scientists amazed by its sheer size and its mysterious behavior. Well, the animal had never been observed in such conditions, which explains the mystery around it. But the discovery led to an even deeper question: what else was hiding in the dark? Another question that prods the mind is, how are these animals surviving? By now, we all are aware of how extreme the environment of the Mariana Trench is. No sunlight, freezing temperatures, absolutely crushing pressure. And also, there are the occasional bursts of superheated fluids from hydrothermal vents, which can increase temperatures to 750 degrees Fahrenheit. Regardless of all this, life still persists. How? Well, one key to survival is pressure resistance. At the deepest depths of the Earth, under tons of water, the pressure tends to get insanely high, so it's necessary that for life to exist, it needs to withhold all that pressure. This is the reason why, at depths beyond 27,000 feet, animals like the snailfish have skeletons that are made of cartilage instead of bone. This helps because otherwise the immense pressure would cause the bones to dissolve. In addition to this adaptation, deep-sea fish have evolved to abandon swim bladders, which are basically air-filled sacs used by other fish to control buoyancy. Without these air-filled sacs, the deep-sea dwellers avoid the threat of being crushed by the overwhelming force of the water above. Take the Mariana snailfish as an example. It has multiple copies of a gene that produces trimethylamine oxide, which is a substance that stabilizes proteins under pressure. This modification allows them to live a life of peace in such harsh conditions where other life couldn't survive. Wait, what about the freezing cold? They've adapted to that as well. They have fat akin to vegetable oil that prevents solidification at such low temperatures. Moreover, when talking about the absence of light, there are different ways of exploring the vast waters. Many creatures have developed enhanced vision to cope with the darkness, while others have evolved to rely on vibrations, touch, or even bioluminescence to navigate and hunt in the dark. The trench also plays host to one of the most unusual ecosystems on Earth, and the communities that thrive around hydrothermal vents. These vents spew superheated fluids that are filled with minerals, hence creating oases of life in what seems to be the barren seafloor. So, instead of relying on sunlight and photosynthesis, organisms in these areas depend on chemosynthesis. Chemosynthesis is when bacteria convert inorganic substances into organic material to feed on. These bacteria serve as the start of the food chain, the foundation of it. They support a range of life forms, from tube worms to crabs and shrimps. What's most surprising is the ability of organisms around these vents to withstand such extreme temperatures and toxic chemicals that in any other case would almost immediately kill a majority of other life forms. So, you could say that another miracle that surrounds the trench is the adaptation of the life forms to survive both freezing temperatures and scalding hot waters near the vents. Each exploration brought much information to dwell on, but the Hades exploration has been monumental in deciphering the workings of the Mariana Trench. And with every new exploration, there will definitely be more species discovered. But there are some recent astonishing discoveries that we haven't mentioned yet. Findings from the deepest depths of Earth. Recent discoveries show findings of bizarre viruses to human litter, which have left many perplexed. A virus from the abyss. If you thought mankind's distant fear was only limited to outer space, then think again, because some threats seem to be coming from right below us. Deep in the Hadal Zone, approximately 9 kilometers below the ocean's surface, scientists found a previously unknown virus from the depths of the Mariana Trench. The newly discovered virus infects Halomonas, which is a salt-tolerant bacteria that lives off of rust. Yep, even the Titanic is home to this bacteria. Now, while the virus can't infect humans, its discovery sort of leads to the questions of what other viruses are down there, opening up Pandora's box. Many assumed that we would find new creatures, but viruses might not have been on the board. But don't worry, scientists are assuring that this won't bring about a deep sea apocalypse and is pretty much harmless. But then again, the depths of the trench haven't been fully explored, and there's still 2 whole kilometers further down. What could be waiting for us at those depths? Humanity's unwanted souvenirs. There's an even more fascinating yet scary discovery that was made a few years back. One would think that venturing to the deepest end of the Earth would only entail untouched wilderness, but it seems that isn't the case. When Victor Vescovo dived 36,000 feet into the trench, he came across something eerie. Along with biological samples, he also came across plastic waste. Yes, even in the most remote corner of the planet, we humans have seemed to have left our mark. Plastic waste has reached epidemic proportions in our oceans, with an estimated amount of 100 million tons floating around. But perhaps the most heart-wrenching discovery came not from plastic, but a single, intact beer bottle lying alone at the bottom of the Challenger Deep. The bottle had traveled 6.7 miles to the darkest depths of the Pacific, a scary display of how deeply our actions have infiltrated even the most isolated ecosystems of our world. Does this show mankind's disregard for nature? Even in places where the existence of life is a marvel, our trash thrives. Dark oxygen. But before you begin to get too disheartened, there have also been revolutionary phenomena that have been uncovered. For decades, oxygen was thought to only be produced by photosynthesis. But even in the trench, in the totally dark abyss, researchers saw the production of oxygen being spontaneously generated without any life forms involved. How did they come across this? Well, during recent expeditions, researchers came across what seems to be dark bubbles of oxygen. Upon further investigation, they unraveled the workings of this so-called dark oxygen. The oxygen is produced by polymetallic nodules, rocks rich in rare earth metals like cobalt and nickel, which are scattered across the ocean floor. These rocks act like natural geobatteries, which create tiny electrical currents that have enough energy to split oxygen molecules from water. This discovery is massive. It changes the way we understand Earth's oxygen cycle. Could this be the key to understanding how life began? Yet to be explored. Much has been uncovered, but there's no doubt that this is only the beginning of uncovering the truths of the Mariana Trench. As we said before, with every exploration, there are more and more discoveries. So imagine what more lies hidden in the vastness of the trench. There are still many questions unanswered, and as humanity's technology and curiosity advance, we're pushed closer to the trench's deepest, darkest secrets. What other strange creatures, undiscovered ecosystems, and geological wonders await us in the unseen depths? Only time and more daring expeditions will tell. However, one thing is for sure: the endless abyss will continue to challenge and surprise us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.